Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Elle, and today I'm going to be chatting with you about my January wrap up. So January was such a fun month for me. I read a ton of books, more than I did in past months in 2023. I ended up reading 17 books in January, and I read some really great ones. I read a couple of novellas, a lot of different variety of books. I think I read some historicals, fantasy, contemporary, so just different from all across the board. And just a disclaimer, I am getting off of a cold, so if I sound like I have a cold, I am getting off of seasonal allergies. I didn't even know that was a thing in January. But anyways, I am just really excited to chat about all these books with you, so let's get right into this video. The first book I read in January was Just Like Heaven by Julia Quinn. This is a historical romance, and this is also a brother's best friend romance, so the heroine has always been really close with with her brother's best friend, and her brother actually is living abroad right now for a reason, and she is kind of on her own with her mom, and she's trying to find a husband, and so she ends up seeing her brother's old best friend from childhood, and he actually ends up getting injured, and so for most of this book there is a ton of caretaking in this one. She ends up taking care of him and is staying at his estate, and it is just such a cute romance, and they're getting to know each other more than friends, and it is just so good. I love seeing that. It's just a really sweet, just cute historical romance with lots of caretaking, and I just loved this one and adored it. I gave it 5 stars, and I'm really excited to continue on with this series because I know the second book, a lot of people love that one even more than this one, and I loved how the ending was he was not gonna let her go and was on a mission to make her his wife, and I just love that. So 5 stars, a great start to January, and I read so many great historicals in January, so this was one of them. I really liked this one. Then I read Vicious Hearts by Jagger Cole. This is the second book in the Dark Hearts series by this author, and I love this one. This is also on Kindle Unlimited, and this whole series so far has been really fun. It is a mafia romance series, so the heroine from this book, she is actually the daughter of the hero's worst enemy, and she's actually on a mission to kill the hero, and he ends up figuring out that she tries to kill him, and he ends up stopping that and basically kidnaps her and takes her as his prisoner, and they make a deal where she will be with him for 6 months, and he will let her go after that, but she basically has to be his for 6 months. And it is pretty crazy, and there's a lot of mystery happening with the past of her father, and somebody kind of being a copycat serial killer person and doing a lot of things that her dad did. And this one was so good. I loved how possessive the hero was. This is also an age gap, so the hero is older. He is also the head of the Irish mafia. He is known as a psychopath killer. Everybody is deathly afraid of him, and I just love their romance. I really enjoyed it. It was just really good. I have been loving this series. It is such a great mafia romance series with lots of action and mystery, and it's just such a fun series. So I gave this one 4.5 stars, and I'm just really excited to read on with the rest of the series. The next book I read in January was The Risk by Elle Kennedy. So I actually have not read the first book in this series, but for some reason I had The Risk on Audible, and I was just why don't I just check this out? I might love this one, and so I'm so happy I did because I really liked this one. So the heroine, she is very popular girl, and just the guys kind of know to stay away from her, and she is on the Briar U team. I think her dad is the coach of the Briar U hockey team, and the hero is the star player on the Harvard's men hockey team, and they're rival schools, rival teams, like absolutely hate each other. And so she ends up going to this like job interview because she wants to work in like news broadcasting, specifically in sports, and the guy is just very misogynistic, and she kind of blurts out that she is dating the hero from that, like the Harvard hockey team. And so she ends up having to strike a deal with Jake, the hero, in exchange where she will go for every like time they have to go out in public as a couple. He gets one real date with her, and that's basically the start of their romance. And so they start hanging out more and more, and it starts becoming more real. And I just really enjoyed this one. It's very like new adult, which can be fun, and I really enjoyed like the new adultness of like parties, and like I love seeing them support each other at each other's hockey teams, but she had to keep it secret from her dad. And I really love seeing kind of her relationship with her dad evolve, because she doesn't have a great relationship with her dad. And this was just such a great like audiobook. I really like the audio of this one, and just a great hockey new adult romance. I really enjoyed it. I gave this one 5 stars, and I'm really excited to go back and read the first book in this series. Then I read The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. This is the second book in the Crimes of Nyaxia series, and this is the final book for this couple. I think it's Rain and Araya. And the first book left off on a pretty big cliffhanger with a lot left unsaid, and I was really excited to get some answers in this one, and just to see what was going to happen with this couple, because there was some angst, and this one was pretty angsty, and I love seeing like the hero grovel for the heroine, and there was some fantasy action in this one, and I just really enjoyed this one. I don't want to give too much away because this is the second book in this duet, and like you really do need to read this series in order, but I loved how angsty and like the forced proximity of them in this book, like, and they kind of found their love for each other again, and I really did enjoy the ending of this one. It was super action packed. So I give this one 5 stars. I cannot wait to read the novella for this series, which is 6 Scorched Roses, because I've heard amazing things about this one. But this is a great fantasy series. I really love it. Definitely go check it out if you haven't yet. It deals with vampires, so super duper fun, and I really like this one. Then I made it a goal for January to finish the Cottonwood Cove series, or I think I made this goal like in general for 2024, and I read the rest of the books in the series. I've only read the first book and the 5th book, so I wanted to go back and go to the second book, which is Under the Stars by Laura Pavlov, and I really like this one. I think I gave it maybe 4 stars or like 4.5. I can't really remember right now, but this is a really fun small town romance, grumpy sunshine romance. I really enjoyed it. The hero works for a publishing company, and he needs a new assistant, and once he sees the heroine, he's like, absolutely not. She's just too happy for me and just too sunshiny, but he ends up hiring her because she is the most qualified, and so they have to start working together. It's like forced proximity, workplace romance. It was super fun. I really love how obsessed he became with her, and was just like, well, I don't care that you're working for me. Like, I really like you. I want to start a relationship with you. And she's a part of this whole family, like a sibling in this family, so I always love like the group texts in this series. It's just so good, and I really like this one. Then I read the Wallflower Wager by Tessa Dare. I love this book. I give it 5 stars. It was such a quick, fun historical romance. It's just absolutely adorable. So the heroine, this is like the most recent book in this series, and all of the books revolve around each character, like one of the heroines finding her person, and she is definitely a loner. She likes to kind of be on her own, and she loves animals, and she has like a gaggle of animals on her property. She's also a spinster, and the hero is moving in next door to her. He has a newfound dukedom, and he wants to sell this like house that he acquired, but he is like, nobody's going to want to buy this if there's all these like animals right here. And so he is trying to work with her to find like homes for the animals, because she is also kind of on a time limit of going back to her like familial home because she hasn't found a husband yet. And they start, you know, hanging out more and more and just like falling for each other. And it was just so fun and like spicy and just like a really great time. I literally laughed out loud so many times listening to this audiobook. It was just adorable. I loved it. I was smiling throughout this whole book. It was just so good. Love this one. 5 stars. Can't wait to read more from Tessa Dare. And I read Ransom by Julie Garwood, another historical. This one was a lot of fun, but it is really long. I did give this one 5 stars. I really liked it. So this is a more old school historical romance, and our heroine, she is kind of stuck in this really sticky situation because of her past. Like her dad was like a baron, and he was murdered by this other guy because they thought he had this like special box thing. And so her sister and her basically got separated when they were young because of this box, and so she is trying to find her sister and figure out like what clan she is in. And she ends up getting captured by the guy that murdered her father, and she is also kidnapped with this other little boy, and so they kind of run away, and they are on like a trip to find like his home and his parents, and she's trying to find her sister, and they end up encountering the hero because she actually ends up saying like, I am the like engaged or something to the hero, who is a laird, and he's also related somehow to the boy. And so the laird comes and finds them, and they go on this like whole journey of, you know, taking the boy back to his parents while he is trying to figure out where his sister is. And there's just a lot of moving parts in this book. It's very action-packed. She is a headstrong heroine, and he is a very like alpha hero. And it was just a lot of fun, and I definitely was kept on my toes with this one. I really enjoyed it. It was just such a fun, fast-paced historical romance, and I loved like all of the action, and I loved their romance and how she was just so like offended that he wanted her like so badly to be his wife and all of this stuff. It was just hilarious, and I just really enjoyed this one. And I loved like the mystery with this like forbidden box that's gone missing, and them trying to find it, and her trying to find her sister. And I love seeing her friendships with all of like the men in the clan. It was just really fun. I really love this one. 5 stars. Need to get to more old school historical romances because I love them when I read them, but I just am not like drawn to them a lot of the times, but I need to just pick them up because I love them when I read them. Then continuing on with the Cottonwood Cove series, I read On the Shore, which I think I give this one 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. So the heroine, she basically is in a really bad spot. The hero actually is an NFL player, and she is a reporter, and she went into like the locker room, and he was on a very like personal call, and he basically yelled at her and thought she was kind of like nosying in, like trying to listen to the call or something like weird. And so she ends up getting fired, and so she decides to go back to her like hometown and just kind of regroup, figure out what she wants to do now since she has been fired. And so she ends up running into the hero in this small town because he is trying to get away from the press and just kind of have a reprieve. And he is just thinks that she is there like stalking him, and she's like, actually no, I live here, I grew up here. And it's just really funny. And so he is just like also really grumpy and just like turned off by like anybody that has to deal with like the media. And so they end up kind of forming a little bit of a friendship, and they go on these like runs together where in exchange for him being kind of like away and nobody knows that he's like in this small town, he will let her do a story on him. And so they go on these runs, and she's like interviewing him, and it's just so adorable. And I just really love this one. I loved all the small town romance like shenanigans, and I love like how he thought she was just this like stalker girl, but he ended up becoming really obsessed with her and just like wanting to be in a relationship with her, which I thought was so funny and just adorable. I really like this one. This whole series is so great. I'm pretty sure I gave this one 4.5 stars, so definitely pick the series up if you like small town romances, because I really like this one. Then I read another Tessa Dare. I read Say Yes to the Marquez. I always forget how to say Marquez. Like, I don't know why. It's like a tongue twister. But this one actually took me by surprise because I feel like Tessa Dare's romances are really like not like rom-com-y feeling, but kind of like in historical romances. But this one was not. This one was actually pretty angsty. So the heroine has waited basically like 8 years for the hero's brother to marry her, and she's just done with it. She wants to break off the engagement and just like live her own life, do what she wants. And the who she's engaged to, like his brother, which is the hero, is like, no, you can't, like he's coming back. And so he is trying to get her excited by like trying to plan her wedding of like his brother and her, to like get her excited about like getting married and want to not break off the engagement. But she ends up falling for him instead, and it is just so good. I really enjoyed this one. It was really funny, like him trying to get her excited like about wedding stuff, like, oh, let's pick out the flowers, and she'd be like, I don't care. Like, it was just really, really funny. But it was also very angsty because he's always felt like second to his older brother, even though he is, and she's also like a curvy heroine, so they kind of both like bring each other's confidence up. And it was just such a good historical romance, and I love seeing them finally like give in to each other and their attraction for each other. It was just so good. 5 stars. Love this one. Then I read the last book I had to read in the Cottonwood Cove series, which is Before the Sunset. Yes, Before the Sunset. This one was really, really good. I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. And this is a friends to lovers romance. So the heroine was working as an interior designer for a year in London, and she was actually engaged, and her fiance broke off their engagement and started dating somebody else in their small town. She's just absolutely devastated. So she's going back to the small town to kind of like recoup and possibly get her fiance back. And so the hero's coming back to a small town as well. He is a celebrity, and he's dealing with a lot of bad press from his TV show because of this co-star that thought that they were in a relationship, but they weren't. Like, she's just kind of crazy. Like, they made out like once, and she thinks that they're like in a relationship, so she's basically bad-mouthing him and all of this stuff. So his publicist is like, well, you need to date someone to bring back up your positive image. And so they strike up a deal to fake date him and the heroine so she can attract her fiance, and he can kind of get the media off his back. And they end up falling for each other, and it was just so sweet and adorable. I love their friendship, but I did get a little annoyed with the heroine at times because she was like actively falling for the hero, but she was still thinking like, oh, like I want to get back with my fiance still. But the fiance's obviously not a good guy. Like, he didn't treat her right and all of this stuff. So that got a little irritating, but I just love their romance so much. I loved how protective he was over her and her feelings, and it was just so good. Definitely check this series out. I just love this one, and I'm so sad to have completed this series. The next book that I read was House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. I did a reread of this book, and this was my first reread for this book and for House of Earth and Blood, but I read that in December, and I just loved my reread of this one. I caught like so many more things the second time I read it, and I just loved it. 5 stars again. Love this series so much. And I was obsessed with the romance, and both of the romances in this one. It was just so, so good. Then I read Twilight of Embers by Tessa Hale. This is a new release from her. This is a Why Choose Dragon Shifters romance, and I absolutely love this one. Gave it 5 stars. It was so, so good. The audiobook is also amazing because they have a whole cast of audio narrators for all of the guys. It's like Joe Arden, Teddy Hamilton, Connor Crass, I don't remember who. I think it's Jacob Morgan as well. And it was just amazing. So the heroine doesn't know she has magic, or if she's like a dragon shifter or anything. She basically knows nothing about magic. And so her first day at this new university, she meets one of the heroes, and he is a star like football player, and he kind of brings her into like his fold with all of his friends, and he like realizes that she's different and like one of them. And so they have like, I think it's like 4 guys, maybe 4 or 5, and like one of them is a teacher at the school, one of them is a billionaire, one of them like absolutely detests her, and it was so, so good. I ate this book up. I was loving the audio. So much fun. Like, they knew that she was their mate, but like she had no idea, and it was just so good. And I need to read more like Why Choose Dragon Shifter Romances. I cannot wait for the second book because I was obsessed with this romance, and I cannot wait to see what's going to happen in the second book. This was so good. 5 stars. Amazing. Then I read Among the Heather by Samantha Young. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. It was not my favorite. I loved the first book in this series, I think just like way more, and I think I had too high of expectations for this one. So the heroine, she is working as like the estate manager for this estate in the Scottish Highlands, and the hero is a famous actor, and he has been having really bad press because of something from his past that came to light, and so he is kind of wanting to escape the media and just stay at this estate for a little while. And they just like don't get along, and it's like hate to love at first, and then they kind of have a friends with benefits situation thing. I just didn't love this one. I didn't love how much talk about like the heroine's trust issues, because she had dated like actors before, because her dad is like a famous director in Hollywood, and just her trust issues just kept coming up so much. It was just getting really annoying. And I also didn't love like all of the body negativity, because she is a curvy heroine, and I don't know, it just didn't feel necessary and just got like annoying. I don't know, maybe that's just a personal thing for me, but it was just not my favorite. But I still really loved like the hero, and he was really fun. And I loved how like he would boost up her confidence and was just like so confident in their relationship together. And just like famous people, like actors and in romances, are just not my favorite thing. So this wasn't my favorite, but I'm really excited for the next book in the series because I've heard amazing things from like early reviews, so I'm really excited to read that. Then the next book I read in January was The Enforcer by Avery Keelan. This one is such a like unique romance. I really love like the uniqueness in like this second chance romance. So the heroine and hero dated their freshman year of college, but the hero just has like a lot of like internal like things he needed to go through, and so he kind of just like pushed the heroine away and was like, we can't be in a relationship right now. Just kind of gave her like the cold shoulder, and she like kind of like hates him now. And he is a star hockey player on their hockey team, and it is their senior year, and she is a physical therapist, and she was just assigned to the hockey team to be a trainer, and so they have to work together, and it is super angsty. I think like the first half of this book was not my favorite because it was super slow, but afterwards like from then on it was like 5 stars. I gave this one 4.5 stars because the beginning was so slow. But I love seeing him like grovel for her and just being like obsessed with her and still wanting her, but it's like, I'm not good for you. And this was very angsty second chance, and I love like all of the touches. Like she had to, you know, massage him and do her like therapy on him, and I love like the tension they had. It was just really good. Really enjoyed this one. 4.5 stars. And the next book I read in January was Loving Romeo by Laura Pavlov. This is her newest release, and I love this one. I gave this one 5 stars as well. It was just so good, and I'm really excited for what's to come in this series. So the heroine is the daughter of one of the wealthiest families in this small town, and the hero absolutely detests her and her family because of something that her dad did to him in his past, and he is also a boxer. And so she just opened up a new business right next to his gym, and he just like hates her and detests her, but she like has no idea, and so she's trying to be like nice to him and welcome him, and he's just like, I don't want anything to do with you. But he ends up agreeing to let her make like protein shakes for him, and so they start hanging out more and more, and they start up a romance, and it was just so good. I loved like how he was a boxer, and I love how he really realized that she is not her father, and it was just really good. I loved this new like host of characters from Laura Pavlov. Like all of them were just hilarious, and I'm just really excited for what's to come with this series. I love the audiobook. Amazing. 5 stars. Can't wait to read the next release in the series. And the next book I read in January was An Arc of Ashes of You by Catherine Cowles. This was amazing. 5 stars. So freaking good. I absolutely adored this one. I think this is going to be like a new favorite of the series, and I'm already obsessed with this hero. So the heroine, Hallie, she has a very tumultuous past because there's something that happened, and Lawson is also linked to that in some way. So when she comes to this small town to interview as a nanny for Lawson, the hero, he's just kind of like taken aback because he knows her past and what happened to her, and he agrees to let her nanny his boys because there's really no other options, like there's not another candidate that he could turn to. And so she starts nannying for his kids, and I just absolutely loved her relationship with his 2 younger sons, like all of his sons. And she really won over the 2 youngest sons, but the oldest, he has a lot of things from his past as well that he is trying to work through, and he just does not like her and doesn't want her there, but he really opens up to her, and it is just absolutely adorable, their relationship. And I love seeing how like his character like grow throughout this book. It was just amazing. And this is also forbidden in an age gap, so Lawson is a cop, and he just holds a lot of guilt because of his like children's past and what happened with their mother. And I just love seeing him finally give in to wanting Hallie, and it was just amazing. And of course there's some suspense in this one, especially with Hallie's past. It was just epic. So good. I had no idea who was gonna be like the culprit in this like suspense, and it was just amazing. And I love this book so much. 5 stars, absolutely amazing. Blew my socks off. It was just so good, so definitely pick this one up once it releases on February 8th. Then the last book I read in January was Hold by Claire Kent. This was amazing. I gave this one 4 stars. It was so good, so unique. So the heroine this is set in a futuristic world, and the heroine is sent off to this prison planet. She's actually an archaeologist, and she was like digging up a site that she wasn't supposed to. So she gets sent to this prison planet, and when she gets to the prison, she's given this advice to find the strongest man in the cell to basically, in exchange for her body, he will protect her, and that is the hero. She finds him and seeks him out, and so for an exchange of protection, she gives him her body, and it is so good. This is a novella. It's very spicy. I really enjoyed this one. I loved like the closeness in the prison and like the forced proximity of them being in the prison, and it was just so good. I loved the spicy scenes. I loved how protective he was over her, and I loved like how they were so close, and like their forced proximity-ness made them fall for each other. It was just so good, and I cannot wait to continue on with this series. This was so fun, and I really enjoyed it. Alright, well that is the end of this video. I feel like my voice is growing hoarse because I have not read this many books in a while, so just like chatting away. But I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I definitely want you to let me know down below what your favorite romances were of January, and because I would love to know. And I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.